This is gonna be loud. I'm gonna try to do it in one take because this is not a professional video. This is made for a reason. And there's a carcass of something right here. Don't know if that's an omen or not. I'm on my new scooter. I hope not. This is my new genuine Rattler, and that's Rattler 200i for that big walking engine that's not actually 200. It's 168.9 cc's, but this is a beautiful little scooter. I bought it because A, I like the style, B, it was priced the way I wanted it to be priced, which meant it was less than some of the other competitors, but still offered a lot of features and a lot of bang per buck. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make this video non-edited, at least minimal editing, and I'm doing that because every video, when I went to buy this, I did some research, and every video that I found was all from people trying to sell the scooter, and they didn't show all the nitty-gritty details. And that's what I'm gonna do for you here now. Here we go, top to bottom, starting with this headset. I'll get to the middle part in a minute. First, you know, the basic stuff. This does have bar end weights on both sides. The grips, they're rubber, nice and almost silky feeling. I don't know how these would do with bare hands. I ride with gloves. They're comfortable with gloves. Of course, this is the throttle. That, kind of a bonus. You don't always get the hazard lights on a scooter. This has hazard lights. That's the kill switch. That's the start switch. Squeeze the brake lever, start it. I'll let you hear it run in just a moment. Going over to the other side, this is another bonus. Bright light, standard, pass. You can press that and flash as you pass, and this has enough gusto that you can pass. Below that, turn signal, left or right, press to cancel. And the horn, and this is a beep beep style horn, not the car sounding horn the Roughhouse has. Here's the left grip, just in case you were curious, and the other bar end. Now to the middle. The instrument panel, fully digital, has some lights up here at the top, kind of like an old 80s car. Let me turn this on. You'll see it has a boot up sequence. That was the tachometer. It's on the top. Here's the speedo. And there's my current mileage, 814.5. You can press this button and there is a trip meter. This will reset it. There's also a clock. Go back to the odometer. This is a fuel gauge. And when it gets to the last bar, it will start flashing. And I believe, I'm not sure because I've only done it once, but that last bar, when it starts flashing, you have about a half gallon left. It's a 1.5 something gallon tank. They say 1.6. But when I actually did the liters that it says in the manual, it's like 1.559 or something like that. Up at the top, you'll see turn signals, engine, and then the bright light, if you have bright light on. And this engine, there's actually a computer in this thing. It comes with an OSB 2 scan tool cable, so you can plug in and there's actual diagnostics. It will keep up with engine temperature and things like that. So more than just a light to light up, it actually does something. And also during the daytime, nobody talked about this. This is completely visible. It never shows up on camera well, but even in bright southern sunshine, I mean, not a cloud in the sky, bright southern sun, this shows up well, and at night looks spectacular there too. So that's the instrument cluster and the gauging, and also, you can't see it on camera, but there's that little UV look, like a polarized look to this, meaning there are some UV inhibitors in here. Wasn't a guarantee because of something else about this scooter that I'll be talking about in a minute that very few people talk about. So let me turn that off. That's up top. This is a shrouded or an enclosed. The original Rattler, there was an old Rattler, a buck 10 and a Rattler 50. And that Rattler 50 turned into the Roughhouse 50 basically by enclosing the headset. This enclosed headset, glossy, nice and angular. See if I can give you a good look here. It is a very modern looking headset up top. These are brake levers, obviously hydraulic disc brakes on this bike. We'll be looking at those in a second. That's hydraulic front and rear. Here's the mirrors, bugs included, nice and angular. And look at this design. I mean, kind of a cool ventilated design, air goes through. And I think these arms are aluminum because I see a chip right there. And it looks like aluminum. They look great. They match the headset. They match this cool front end we're about to talk about. Talked about the gloss here, all the angles. Now get down to this front end, which is gorgeous. I love this. This is modern, cool, fast looking, even sitting still. There's only two color options here. the silver and a red, and the only thing that's colored would be the area there and this. So you get silver, red. I like this silver. I think the red's probably the most popular. But this, very cool, also angular. Some little inserted plastic grills there for ventilation. All your electronics and stuff are behind this, or some of them. I think some are slightly above the engine. And there's this, the Rattler lettering. It seems trivial. This little raised lettering here. When I saw that and the headlight and the sizing were the things that tipped the boat versus the other scooters I had been considering. I love the look of this, the angularness, and I apologize for the bug guts. I was going to clean it up, but I don't have my cleaner, and I'm refilming this. So let me move down further. There's just black plastic, standard black plastic here. It's nice and thick. Very good quality. And this, I don't know how well you can see that. That's not faux carbon fiber, that's impressed in this, and it's called snake skin. When I went to buy mirrors, I found out this is called snake skin, and it's hidden everywhere. It's there. There's some snake skin accents here. There are snake skin accents here, just in these little areas. It's all over. It's even in the front, right below this cool headlight. Snake skin, it looks nice, and that goes with the whole Rattler thing, so I like it. This headlight, I love it. Probably my favorite headlight I've ever seen on any scooter. It's very nice. These light up. There's a projector beam there. The high beam illuminates on both sides. I'll show you that in just a moment. Beautiful, bright, a nice wide beam. And it covers a wide area, and it lights up at night. My rough house, I couldn't see at night. On this, I can see everything. It lights up quite well. Let's move down even further. This cowling here comes out. It's got a nice point to it. That's popular on a lot of scooters, but where this differs is many scooters that have this have a hump down there for some reason. This doesn't. It gives you full floorboard. That's great. Again, good thick plastic with the snakeskin here. More vents. The fender also angular to match that headset we just looked at. It's a nice fender, nice and thick, doesn't make any noise, doesn't move. Tires, these are 120/70/12 up front. They're made by Kenda, and they have this, this is that new popular adventure bike kind of thing. It's transitioned over into scooters. I think the Zumas have had it for a while. They are, they're okay tires. They look good. They certainly do look good. We'll come back to those. Wave brake rotor, nice and thick. A dual piston caliper. There you go. And here's something don't talk about much. That is a braided brake line for the brakes. Very good. An upgrade option on the rough house. You had to pay extra to get that. The fork, I don't know the travel. I know it's smooth. We'll talk about how this does suspension-wise in just a bit. Also up here on this plastic, turn signal. You have turn signals up here. DOT pod turn signals. But down here, that's the factory turn signals. They reside right below the headlight, one on each side. Had the dealer plug mine up, or he plugged them up for me. And I have actually both that'll work. We'll see those in just a moment. Back down to this tire. Again, the tread, very nice. Makes a roar, I'll tell you that. At 40 miles per hour, it seems to be at its peak. And again, the size, I don't have it here, but it's 120/70/12. And these rims, a nice painted black spoked rims, look really good. Let's jump back to the back wheel for a second since we're talking about wheels. So you can see a similar spoke design. This tire slightly larger. This is a 130/70/12. It also has the big grips, but a nice fat look back there. But the thing I like about this, the brakes are on the other side. A lot of scooters, they're on this side. That means the wheel, easier to take off back here, and you get that clean look on the side. And actually see two full rims, it looks good. Back to some of the plastics, we're gonna move down again. There's snake skin there, and snake skin on these little, they look cool. I don't know what they're there for, but they sure do look cool. There is a baggage hook. It's not the fancy kind. It's just, well, a little hook. I don't know how much weight it'll hold. There is a phone slot. This will fit up to an iPhone 15 Pro, no Pro Max. Won't fit that in there. And if you have a case on, it gets tight, but it does slide down there. This is the USB port, and I found out, it kept coming down, and I found out there's a little loop hook there. You just press it on, and that covers your USB port, makes it watertight. On this side, the keyed switch. It does have the little cover. You can use your key to cover it up. It's supposed to help it be more secure. You can lock, press and twist and lock to the left, or you can do to the right to turn on, or you can click and that opens the seat. Seat opens up to, you know, okay storage by scooter standards. You can't fit a full face in here. That normally would access a carburetor. You can get to the top of the fuel injector throttle body via this. And of course the EPA stickers and all that. There's your tank. You fill there. It's a 1.6-ish, slightly under 1.6 gallon tank. There is no, some Vespas you can pull out and they'll have like a rain cover thing that goes over. There's nothing like that here, but there is a rubber seal that goes all the way around for this seat. And the beauty of this, look at this. That's shut. It's that easy. Let me open this. Open it and shut it with just a light press. Now that is nice. The finish is too, I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but it kind of looks like a leather, but it's a matte leather. I mean, I don't think it's real leather, but it's a matte finish. And there's the hump. There's a nice hump here and a good seating area for a passenger. And you do have foot pegs that come out, and that's on both sides. These are metal foot pegs, so no trying to toe in and fit in a small area here. Actual foot pegs. If you don't like them, you can take them off. Back up here, you have the floorboard, a full through floorboard, so traditional scooter stuff. Feet fit here, feet can go here, and this is a good solid feel here. It's not like a cheap scooter where you're gonna just start breaking all this stuff. This is a textured, thick plastic. I can stand on this and move back and forth and there's not a creaking sound. As a matter of fact, there's not a creaking sound on this whole scooter. I do that right as the trucks in the background make noise. There's more snake skin, a thin strip that goes all the way to here. It's not here, it looks good. There's more vents for cooling the engine. Up to here, the second trim accent color. It can be red or it can be the silver. Kind of a metallic silver, a very light, I don't know if I would call that, yeah, that's a metallic silver. We'll go with that. And there's a perfect line, a perfect graphics line, and it's not like you're gonna peel this off or anything, but there's a perfect line to gloss black, and then the Rattler emblem, which I think is just so cool. Rattler 200i. That wraps around to this pointy rear. I like this, kind of snake-like, pointy at the back to fit the whole Rattler thing, and I think these even Rattlery. Just these little grab rails. You have a rack that is an option. The factory rails, I think they look cool. It's just mean, snake-like. There's even more snake skin right here, right beside the rear turn signal, or the factory rear turn signal. But this is the US, so you get the pod turn signals. My dealer plugged these up too. Again, I'll show them to you in a minute, but they look really cool. Even more snake skin texture here. This is the tag light. The tag bracket comes with the bike. This is nice and thick and solid. A reflector down here. Very good look at the back. And of course the tail light, show you that's LED. Showed you the front brake. Here's the rear, also disc, wave rotor, but that looks to be a single piston caliper at the rear. This is the CVT. This is an automatic scooter, like most scooters are if you're not into vintage Vespas. And that's warm. I just touched it and realized I've ridden this. This is matte black with embossed genuine right there with silver accents. Pretty good. Again, fully automatic. There's your air box. This is the bleed or weep valve. If you ever get oil that blows back to the air box, that's for that. And that is the fuel injector. All right, now the engine, the exhaust, it has a cool note. I'll try to edit in here. That's the exhaust. It does sound cool for this technically 200, but really 168.9 cc. There is a textured area here, and this is a little flimsy feeling, but it doesn't rattle, so that's good. But that's not snake skin, that's just textured. Here, the cooling fan. This is an air-cooled engine. There's the oil dipstick, critical stuff here. Check the oil, you screw the dipstick out, and then just press it in. You don't screw it all the way back in to check, only screw it in when you want to close it back up. If you don't do it that way, you can put too much oil in this. And here's what you can see of the engine. That's the fuel injector. There are a bunch of connectors there. Somewhere in there, I believe, is the OSB2. I think I'm saying that properly. The engine has a lot of spunk. Talk about performance here in just, well, I'll talk about performance now. This will go. It will go fast. The speedometer is right at 3 miles per hour, overly optimistic. All scooters, all motorcycles currently made have optimistic speedometers. That's for a reason. This one, it's not analog. Normally I like analog, but I'm liking this digital now. And I like that the 3 mile per hour that's consistent from top to bottom. Performance-wise, I've had this to a GPS verified 65 miles per hour. Now it goes up to 60 fast. Anything beyond that, a mile per hour here, a mile per hour there. The optimal speed range for this thing, 45 to 55. It can do all day and have gusto left for passing, for doing what you need to do. Any city streets in my area, I can ride on this. Any of the highways in my area, I can ride on this. I rode it to Tennessee, about a 15-mile drive just today, and it did quite well doing 55 to 65. I'm going to do a ride video separate on this. This is just for the people that are looking to buy and want to know about the bike. Along with the floorboard, there are these side valance panels. They're plastic, matching, nice and thick. There is a side stand. There's no kill switch on this side stand. It's just a side stand that opens and closes. I rarely use it. I usually use the center stand. I recommend the center stand. This one, good and sturdy. I'm rocking the scooter and it's staying in place. It would take a lot of wind to blow this over. This is a good center stand. Let's talk about smoothness, because that's one thing that every person that I've seen that has reviewed this scooter talked about it being a rough ride. Well, I'm coming from the rough house, and I've ridden plenty of cheap Chinese scooters. I've ridden scooters all the way up to a Vespa GTS 300 Super Sport SE, which was 2 scooters ago. And I can tell you, when people said this rode rough, I was envisioning like rough house, kind of rough. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that for a single rear shock, nothing fancy, no piggyback reservoir, it is adjustable, but this single rear shock and that front suspension make this ride quite well. Now, it's not GTS 300 smooth by any stretch, but I will say it's about on par with what I remember my Vespa Sprint 150S riding. So it does ride a lot smoother than some people give it credit for. Definitely better than the rough house. And let's talk about positioning and more on the ride. It is nimble. It's agile. One thing about small frame scooters, they're fun, like the rough house. This is not a small frame. If it sits side by side with a scooter like the Hooligan, it is almost as big as the Hooligan, but it doesn't ride like a larger frame scooter. It's nimble. I can turn tight turns, but I also have the smoothness that normally a large frame scooter gives you, meaning that it rides good out on the road. It doesn't fatigue me. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Now, fitment wise, I'm 5'10", 5 foot 10 inches tall. I have a 32-inch inseam, and I am sitting on this seat right where I should be sitting. I'm not on the hump. I'm right here, perfectly where I should be. And my feet, I go back and forth between the floorboard and these kick panels, and I am completely comfortable. Even the reach is perfect for me. 5'10", I fit perfect on this bike. So to me, it's the perfect choice ride-wise, because I like that small frame nimbleness, but I also enjoy the large frame kind of cruisability. This is the best of both worlds, so I would call this kind of almost a medium frame, sitting in between the two. Absolutely perfect size-wise. So if you have any questions about that and you're 5'10", you will fit on this bike perfectly. And that's one of those things that nobody told me, but now I know. I did go to a dealership and I saw this, or saw a red one, and I was able to sit on it, sit on a Hooligan, and then I knew. As soon as I saw the little details about this, that headlight, I was sold. And the fact that it's a 200, or, marketed as in that 200 class, but most of the new 200s are 170s anyway. That's just how things are going. All right, so there's our features. Now let's talk about the likes and the dislikes. The likes, the performance, obviously this engine, strong, runs good, it sounds good. Nice idling engine, nice running engine. The tires do get a little noisy, as I mentioned, at about 40 miles per hour. They're at peak noise. And they also have, that tread. They have that knobby kind of ride. I will tell you, I do like them. I like the way they look, but I will replace them with maybe some Pirelli Angels or something like that as soon as they wear out. This is a well planned out, well riding scooter. Considering the dollar amount, this is a lot cheaper than all the scooters in its class. I bought this for $3,200 was the out the door price from Scooter Stop, a shameless plug for them, a great company. I like the guy that owns the company, and they deliver. They have a white glove service, which I paid extra for to get it delivered to my door, and I'm happy that I did. Out the door price that you can expect on this bike. I called all over trying to find a silver one, and the out the door price is going to be, with dealer fees and everything, $3,800 to $4,100 is what I was getting. It seemed to always fall in that range. So I'm happy I got my white glove service, and I got the scooter for on the very low end of that spectrum, and it was delivered to my door, perfectly set up by Scooter Stop. Shameless plug over. I, of course, like this display. I like, everything. Already kind of given away a lot of this stuff I like. I'll just tell you the high points. That instrument cluster I really like. I love the headlight. I will show you the headlight illuminated right now. It looks great. I'll show you the turn signals there also. So great, especially having both of them hooked up. Now, a lot of people shave the DOT turn signals when they plug up the others. I decided to leave both. More lighting, it's good, and they're in sequence. That's good too. The snakeskin, I adore the snakeskin everywhere. It looks great too. So overall, there's not much I don't like. There are a few things though, and then there's one really you need to know thing that a lot of people don't know about this bike. I think I've already talked about the mirrors. If I didn't, let me go ahead and do it again here. If I sit on the scooter, these mirrors, they look cool, but this left one, I just can't get it adjusted properly. I can the right, I can see what's behind me, the left one. I just can't do it. These don't adjust normally. You can only adjust here. You have to loosen this and swing out. I don't like it. I've already ordered replacements, which is sad because I like that through design. That looks cool, but that's one thing. And the guy at Scooter Stop told me, he said, you're not going to like this, but I left them on just because it was you. So if I haven't already covered those, that's one thing I don't like. I love the engine. I love the exhaust sound, but there's this other sound. The best way I can describe it is almost a pre-detonation ping, but if you made it lower sounding. And I don't think it's pre-detonation because I took this bike, when I got it, it had a tank of gas, but usually, dealers, they'll give you 87 octane, whatever's the cheapest. I ran that through, and then I put 93 octane non-ethanol, which is what I run in all of my scooters, and I still had it. So then I thought, well, is my 93 octane, is that a lie for that non-ethanol? So I went with 93 octane Shell V-Power and still had the same sound. I've tried 93 octane Chevron, still the same sound, and went back to my ethanol free. It's just this knock, and I don't think that it's pre-detonation because it's just an odd tone. It's a different tone. It almost sounds like a rod bearing, but if it were a rod bearing knocking under load going up hills, I would hear it when I accelerate, when I decelerate, things like that, and I don't. So I don't know. I even thought maybe the stator's loose, but if it were that loose, I would have known by now. I have 800 miles on this. That would have shown up. And there's also, and this ties in with the last thing that I'm going to mention, but I want to get to this CVT. There are quiet CVTs, and then there are noisy CVTs, and usually the most noisy are cheap Chinese scooters. This is a noisy, clunky sounding CVT. I'll try to edit in, if that captured, I haven't listened to it, but I'll try to edit in some footage I took. It's just clunky, it's rattly sounding. I don't particularly like that, but it works great. It's a smooth running CVT, so that's what I care about, but it does just kind of sound cheap, and there might be a reason for that. Most genuine scooters, and there's their logo hidden way up there underneath this headset. It's crooked because it's tilted, but that's the genuine logo. Most genuine scooters, and they usually kind of make a thing about talking about this, they're made by PGO in Taiwan. Good quality stuff. There is an expectation of quality, and PGO bikes have that. This is not a PGO bike. This is made in China, and that can be seen right there on the exhaust with that Longia. I think I'm pronouncing that properly, but this is a mainland China bike, which I've heard mentioned in videos, but not a lot of people have went in depth on it, and I've looked it up and I've talked with Genuine. It actually is a mainland China bike, but it has very stringent quality controls. You know, China can make some great stuff. It's all about supervision at the factories and the quality of the materials used, which is the only question mark that is still remaining on this bike. I do have that clunky CVT, but so far, I mean, all the bolts have ratings on them, at least most of them that I look at, the important ones, have ratings on them. So I have faith that Genuine has done their due diligence and that they have somebody at the factory making sure that the quality on all these is as good as it appears to be. Only time's going to tell if this is a Chinesium special or if it's full of good quality stuff. And I think the engine, that'll show up first. And this has already had its first service. That was at 497, or technically 500 miles, which is another thing to factor in. This bike has an extensive first service that includes valve adjustments, and its average cost is around $350. Now mine was a little cheaper because I brought my own oil, which is a whole other thing. This uses 15W40. Well, that's not that special. It uses a JSO MB oil, 15W40, and only Genuine that I can find has that in the United States. So you really, if you're following, and they're adamant about using that JSO MB. So if you want to keep it factory and through the recommended stuff like I do, then you have to buy their oil. I took that and the gear oil. So my first service, I think it was $275, something like that. But factor in, if you're shopping for this, your first service could cost upwards of $350. The reason it's so expensive is a little bit of Chinesium. I have heard it said, I think it's Lab Coat Paul or something like that. It's the name of the channel. That guy worded Chinese scooters, cheap Chinese scooters well. He said cheap Chinese scooters are made to sell. They're not made to service. They're not made to run for a long time. They're made to sell. And the way you can find out that is they're not made for service is there's not access ports. Like that would normally be a cover you would pop off to adjust valves. On this bike, it's a whole ordeal. As a matter of fact, where I took it for service, you see that little scratch right there? That little scuff I'm gonna have to buff out with some colored wax. That's where they had to take these grab handles off and take all of this off just to get to the valves to do the valve adjustment. Now fortunately that doesn't have to be done again for a long, long time, but it's something to factor in that this takes some effort maybe to service some of the things on it, at least when it comes engine wise. You know, for me, now that I'm past the first service, it has a 2-year warranty. If I have to adjust the valves myself, I'll probably drop the engine down and adjust them that way. But, you know, there might be cables in the way. Here, I'll just show you. That's the throttle body. You know, there's a lot of electrical stuff here plugged up, so it might not be that you can drop down the engine easy. They'll do that. So you have to take all of this out, all of this plastic, all of this out, just to adjust valves. So, you know, stuff to factor in, part of that Chinesium stuff. Maybe little hints of it anyway. But I hope the engine is a good quality. Time will tell. But for right now, that's all I know about this scooter, and that's my experience thus far. Trouble-free. Here's that nice. Oh, that is so nice. Oh, one other Chinesium thing that has to do with the seat. Back when I sold scooters, I used to sell Chinese scooters. I had a dealership, and this was the cheap internet specials that I sold. And one thing, I rode a Yamaha at that point, and then I rode a Stella, genuine Stella. But one thing that I always could tell about a cheap Chinese scooter was that there's always play on a mainland Chinese scooter right here, which is interesting because it has that nice shut, but there is A little bit of play right here. Now when you're sitting on it, it doesn't happen because you press it down. You can see I can rock that back and forth. So, you know, maybe a couple of hints of Chinesium here. And I don't mean that offensively. It's just a commonly used term to mean Chinese metals or budget Chinese metals or materials. And I don't know, a couple of little things. It's the small intangible stuff. So we'll see, but that's what I want you to know about this scooter. I hope this gives you the detail that I didn't have when I was looking for videos online. And again, I'm not paid. I don't sell scooters anymore. I definitely don't sell genuine scooters, even though I'm a fan of genuine scooters. I bought this myself with my own money. This is my opinions. I hope it helps you out. If it does, drop a comment down in the comments. If you have any questions about the scooter, I'll be happy to answer them. Done a couple of oil changes myself. It had Maxima break-in oil in it from the dealer. I drained that at 100 miles, then I drained it again at 250 miles just to see, even though it had to be replaced at 500 via the dealer. And I've drained the gear oil, and then the dealer did it again. So this has been well serviced so far. It will continue to be, so I'll let you know how it holds together. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Comment below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found it informative, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching KevCentral, and have a great day.